or Pedro Flores. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you my story about how I became psychic. A lot of people ask me this question: were you born psychic or did you become psychic later? Let me tell you something. There is so much claims out there that people are born psychic. I don't buy this. I don't buy into that because nobody is born anything. Nobody is born like a master of anything. Like, yes, we are born with some tendencies to have a certain talent. Some people are born with more tendency to be able to learn, for example, art. Some people are born with more tendency to be able to have a musical ear and learn music. And some people are born with a tendency to be more dominant and greedy, and they have potential to become politicians, for example. But nobody was born a musician, nobody was born a psychic, and nobody was born a politician. Nobody was born knowing languages. Some people are born having the tendency to be more able to learn faster languages and many languages. Like to say someone is born with something is a little bit of a like overkill, over like you're claiming too much. Okay, anyway, here's my understanding about why people say they were born psychic, for example. Some people have paranormal experiences early on in life, like they see spirits, they see auras, they see colors, they see things, they hear things, they say things, but this doesn't make them psychic. Because for me, if I define the word psychic, I assume when you're saying someone is psychic, what you're saying is that this person is doing this professionally, is not just a little bit more intuitive than other people. That doesn't make the person psychic. For a person to become psychic, they have got to be doing this as a profession, because if you don't do it as a profession, nobody would knows really how good you are. You would be somehow delusionally psychic. You would be claiming to know things and know stuff, but you're not getting this track record, you're not getting this practical confirmation from people who judge you and you're not practicing your gift. Okay, so for me, a psychic person is someone who does it professionally every day. Because if you don't do it professionally every day, whatever you don't do, you tend to lose, right? You do it every day or you will lose it. It's really this way. Now, why so many people claim to be psychic, but they don't do it professionally? Because they are not psychic. That's simply how it is. Yes, they had psychic experiences in the past. That's a different story. All right? To have psychic experiences, to have paranormal experiences, like, for instance, you had a dream of something happening. A few days later, the same thing exactly happens the way you saw it in a dream. Yes, that's a psychic experience. That's a paranormal experience. That's a premonition. You can call it this way, but you don't become psychic just because you had one dream. If you do it, if you have a dream every day for years, then we can call you psychic. If you have one dream, 5 dreams, like 5 years ago, and that's it, You're not psychic. A lot of people have that. Like 60, 70% of people have had some kind of psychic experiences in their lifetime. It doesn't make them psychic. If you have psychic experiences, then I will tell you what, you might have the chance to develop this as a profession eventually and become a real psychic. But don't say you are psychic then, just from one experience or from even 10 experiences. An example, you paint. As a child, you paint a few paintings. You don't become a painter, all right? Even if your paintings were really, really good, you become a painter once you start selling your paintings for hundreds and thousands of dollars, maybe daily. Then you become a painter. Otherwise, let's say I present myself as a painter. I tell you I am a painter, which is practically like based on this logic, I can say that because I used to paint a lot when I was a child, and my paintings used to be really good. But if I say present myself as a painter, I say I'm a painter. And then you ask me, so how many paintings did you sell last year? I say nothing. I didn't even paint last year. So what would you feel? It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't give me the entitlement of saying I am a painter. While if I say I'm a psychic and you ask me, so what was your predictions last year, and how many people there, how many clients did you have, and what did you do as a psychic last year? And I say, I didn't do anything. I just know myself. I'm a psychic, and I predicted a few things. Didn't tell anyone, but I predicted a few things, and they came true. I had a dream, and so that's the story we hear. So why is it ridiculous when I call myself a painter, and it's not ridiculous when I call myself a psychic when the experience doesn't really prove it? All right, we need the experience. We need the professionalism in the psychic world. Okay, and let me explain. Very few people are psychic. Very, very few. Like, it's not one in a million psychic in this world. It's one at most one in a 10 million. Like, if you take 10 million people out from the streets, there is likely to be one of them to be really psychic or professionally psychic. Now, yeah, I know what you're thinking. What about all those tarot card readers and pick card kind of people, psychic claiming gifted and so on? That's not how I define psychic abilities. If you are picking a card to tell people what you see in the card, and 50% of what you're saying doesn't make any sense and will never happen, or that's not psychic. And that's almost every tarot card reader and every whatever pendulum dowsing person you meet online these days, unfortunately. So unfortunately, the real psychics are somewhere hidden. Very, very rare to find them. I give you an example. Kim Kardashian has met 4 psychics. Supposedly, the 4 of the top authority psychics in the world. That's Kim Kardashian, man. Okay, why would she go to a psychic who is not a top notch, right? She went to 4 top notch psychics. They all told her a lie, a prediction that didn't come true. They told her she was gonna pass her exam, law school bar exam, and she failed. Obviously, she didn't go to a real psychic. None of the 4 psychics she went to was real. Okay, and that's very important to understand. Not everybody who claims to be psychic is a real psychic. Now, back to my story. I still didn't talk about my story, how I became psychic. I never wanted to become psychic in the past. Like, I didn't even know what the word psychic mean before the age of 30. But I tell you something, at the age of 33 or 33 exactly, it was just 5 days before my birthday, to be honest, my 33rd birthday. I met a psychic in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand, called Michelle Stanford. Now this person, if you Google Michelle Stanford and try to find her exactly, she's nowhere to be found online. And I understand that because real psychics are not people who are uh, very out there, like very talkative or very loud out there about their psychic abilities. Unless they are doing it professionally, like me, like I am doing it professionally for a living, and I do it, and I am loud about my psychic gift and so on because I want to invite people to get uh, some benefit from me, all right? Some psychic spiritual guidance. I I love it. I find it very important, actually. I find it my goal in life, my mission in life is to pass down some of my spiritual knowledge to other people, to some people. Not everybody is gonna understand me. Like 99% of people who come in contact with me are gonna discard me as nonsense or not good. But for the 1%, remaining 1%, I love to do this work. Okay? Good. Now, let me tell you something about my story. I started my life as an autistic child, by the way, and I didn't know I was autistic until the age of 33 as well. I was 33 as well when I was autistic. 33? No, wait. Yeah, 33. Exactly. So, but first I was psychic first. Okay, now I'm revising my story, and I think I was a little older than 33 because I was at least a couple of 3 years like into being psychic when I discovered that I was autistic. Anyway, um, I was born as an autistic child. I used to paint a lot when I was a child. I used to excel at painting. Um, I used to dream about becoming a painter, to be honest. That's my childhood dream. Um, and then later on, when I was like 12 years old, exactly, probably 12 years old, I started being amazing in mathematical equations. Like I used to be very skilled in solving mathematical equations, and that made me spend most of my energy on learning mathematics and physics and so on. And I felt like my goal in life is to become the next Einstein or the next genius. And I used to be fascinated by science and experimentation. I used to experiment like on objects, on gravity, how things work in physics and so on. Anyway, that was until I went to university and I noticed how lousy I was in my social life, like my social skills was very deficient. My social skills. It was a hard time. My university time from the age of 17 until 23, something like that. But I studied computer science because I was very interested to understand how the brain works. So I tried to study artificial intelligence. Back then, it wasn't anything that people would recognize as something. It was a nothing back then. Back then, if I used to say I'm studying artificial intelligence, people used to be like, why are you wasting your time? What are you talking about, man? people people didn't even know what a computer was. So I was a little bit ahead of my time in this area, maybe. It wasn't very good, by the way. I wasn't very skilled in artificial intelligence. It was very difficult. Anyway, uh, I I felt frustrated with artificial intelligence. I couldn't create anything amazing. So I started studying mathematics. I wanted to become, I wanted to get a PhD in mathematics, especially algebraic topology. Topology used to be a fascinated subject for me because I saw the connection between the topology, the shapes, and the study of the shapes, and how the mind works. So I wanted to make that link between how intelligence and genius ideas come from the way mathematics work. So that's simply how, to put it simply. Now, eventually, I couldn't even get anywhere. Like, I couldn't invent anything amazing or discover the secret of intelligence. And I studied biology for a few years as well. I didn't complete my degree in biology, by the way. Anyway, so I don't have 3 degrees, but I have at least two. Okay, university degrees, and I have a good knowledge in biology. At that time, eventually, it was like almost 30 years old. I started to have digestive issues. I started to have like difficulties digesting, bloating all the time. And I started to have tinnitus, and I started to have tension in my neck, and I started to feel stressed out, and a lot of things. And I had also carpal tunnel syndrome, and I had joint pain, and I had back pain. So all came to me all back to back, and I noticed something I never thought I would notice. I noticed something about medicine. Like every time I go to a doctor, expecting to get a diagnosis, a solution, something that would like an answer. I didn't used to get anything. Like back pain, there was no answer. Tinnitus, there was no answer. Whatever, no answer. No answer. Digestive issues, no answer. Nothing. So it was like what? Like like back then we didn't used to have internet. We didn't used to have anything that would like give us some opinions about medicine, or someone else is talking about it, or what. I started going to the public library reading books about medicine. Like what, I wanted to understand what the hell is medicine. Like what, like how the hell I used to think that medicine has got the answers to health, and then when I was not healthy, or lightly not healthy. Like I wasn't totally unhealthy, but I was uncomfortable with my health, many issues. Uh, anyway, started reading about medicine, and I got excited. Like I read about medicine so much that I got carried away with the study of medicine. I didn't study medicine officially, but I felt it's amazing and it's deficient, and it's amazing and deficient. And then I studied alternative medicine, or I looked into a lot of alternative medicine, herbal medicine, whatever, Reiki and stuff like that. And until eventually I felt that I need like this sudden inspiration from nowhere. like out of the blue, it came to me that I want and I need to go out to nature, a national park, something like that, and stay for a few days and a few nights, live there for a while and feel this distance from civilization and this. How does nature work like as God has created it without any civilization, any buildings around me, any people around me, any like maybe animals, wild nature, everything is nature. And I did it. I went to a national park and it immediately changed my life. Like it immediately, immediately felt a change. Like I felt like uh, something about me has awakened, like has felt, wow, I am like sleeping at a lake, a huge, beautiful lake, mountains around me, everything is nature. I am so far away from civilization. It was so, this purity, this crispy feeling of a pure sky and pure nature that overwhelmed me. And somehow it made me feel much healthier and more alive. And I knew it back then that nature brings life to my soul, to my body, to my health. Um, and I fell in love with nature. That was only from like a weekend in nature, a weekend camping in nature. Now, like back then, we didn't used to know anything about nature. Like the only thing you could see nature from is TV and some books. Now, if you like these days, if you just watch a few videos on TikTok about Austria, I was in Austria, like I went to Austria for nature, for discovering nature. But if you watch a few videos about Switzerland and so on these days, you see everything. You don't like you're not missing out on anything in nature these days when you like of course it's not the same when you go there and live there, but back then I didn't even know what could be out there in nature. All right, so it was very very important for me. It was so life changing that I thought I need to change my whole life and only live in nature for a while, preferably years, for a few years. I even gambled or risked my life. Like I thought maybe I will eventually die, like accidentally die in nature, but that's okay. I will die feeling having done what I wanted to do. Like I was so excited about living in nature, and I wanted to choose a country to live in nature. Anyway, here is my spiritual awakening moment. I went to Austria for 1 month. 1 month full August Austria nature, uh, and I spent all my time hiking, walking, trekking, and sleeping on mountains. All like never slept under a roof, and it got very uncomfortable or very dangerous sometimes with the weather. And one day, like near the end of my journey, this 1 month trip in Austria, in the Alps, something happened to me. I felt like that was probably the first ever paranormal thing that happened to me. After that, many other paranormal experiences, but like happened for me. But that was the first and most impressive, maybe most intense. I I saw myself like with the third eye. Now I know it was the third eye, but I saw myself like walking under the rain, even though the weather was not rainy at all. It was a clear sky. It was warm, so no signs and no wind at all. So no signs at all that it would rain. And but the rain started about half an hour later. So it was insane, insane. Like no one would have thought it could rain, but I saw it happening. And not only that, I even remember seeing myself walking on a street. Like I remember the details of that street. Like I saw it in my eyes preemptively, as a premonition before it happened. It happened later, like about an hour later. I found myself walking in the same street that I saw in my mind. Insane. Not only that, the main point or the main uh, revelation here was that just a couple of days ago, prior to that, a couple of days prior to that, I was standing at a cemetery where I was thinking to myself, what is the meaning of life? Like why some people, why we live and die? Is there anything after this life? I was atheist back then. I wasn't someone who believed in religion because as a teenager even I used to think that religion must be something must be wrong. Something's off with all those religions fighting in the name of God. Everybody is fighting in the same name of God, and none of them seems to be really good. Anyway, I wasn't I was so anti-religious, but it occurred to me just 2 days prior to that paranormal experience that maybe there is someone out there who could hear me. Maybe. It doesn't have to be God. It might be an angel, it might be something. So I asked that question. I sent that question. I said, if someone could hear me, show me proof. And I was so genuine in my intention, uh, in my quest, in in my intention. I wasn't taking it like in a funny way or sarcastic way. I was genuine. I said genuinely, if there is anyone out there who could hear me, like genuinely show me something. If you don't show me something within a week, like something clearly, a clear sign that you could hear me. If you don't show me that within a week, I would assume nobody heard me. And I would be right about it. And I would die on that hill. And I would say to God, if I meet God one day after I die, I would say to God, well, I asked you to give me an answer and you didn't. So I wasn't all too wrong about not believing in God or not believing in the afterlife or not believing that there is anything beyond the physical because there was nothing to convince me. So that was my clear um, conversation in my head. That was only 2 days prior to that paranormal experience. So when that paranormal experience happened to me, I know that's the answer. That was the answer, and it was fascinating to me how it happened. And like imagine when you spend like at least 10 years of your life as an atheist and thinking, oh, there is no God. How could there be a God when people only fight in the name of God? They do nothing good in the name of God. It's like virtually nothing good. Anyway, so I it was extremely refreshing to me. Like, my God, like now I discovered something. That was the most important discovery of my life. Like, I wanted to discover something to do with mathematics, genius, invention, computer, and artificial intelligence stuff. I ended up discovering something about the afterlife. Like, there is an afterlife, and there is a God who answers, not a god. It wasn't clear what there was to me, like, but there was something beyond the physical reality. That was a clear, like, without any doubt. Anyway, that happened, and then it changed my whole life totally, totally. I mean, I can't tell you how it disrupted my life in a good way. At first, in a bad way. At first, it was like disruption because I didn't want to do any more my job as a teacher at university. I didn't want to do anything other than go and live in nature. Go and live. And then I went to a very like untouched nature kind of country called New Zealand. I wanted to live in the South Island, but turned out to be very cold, so I gave up on this idea about 3 weeks later. I lived in the North Island of New Zealand. It was still very, very inspiring, very good. I lived almost 12 years in New Zealand. Most of it I spent in nature. Most of it I spent homeless. By homeless, I mean I used to have a very good shelter, like a tent, or I lived in several places, several natural places, and I discovered so many things. But the most interesting thing that happened to me in New Zealand was that I met a lot of psychics. As I said, I met the first ever psychic called Michelle Stanford, and it was the best psychic I ever met. And she told me that I will become psychic in the future, or I will be doing healing work in the future. So that was important for me, an important motivation to start somewhere, because I didn't know where to start from after I left my career and so on. And my parents or my family, my whole family believed I have lost my mind, and my friends believed I lost my mind. So it was a lot of disruption of my life, but that was okay. I I'm happy. I'm happy about it. I'm happy because if that's the price to understand that there is a God, or that there is a life after life, or is there a life after death, then I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. I have a concrete proof. I'm not saying to myself, oh, I'm happy there is a life after death because I've read it somewhere from an old 2,000-year-old book. No. I have a first-hand experience. And what's better than that? Nothing. Good. So, how I became psychic was I had many other premonitions like that. I also had many dreams. And in my dreams, I also started seeing my spirit guides in forms of people or teachers. Basically, they come to me as teachers and they tell me, we want to teach you. And I didn't used to understand much about what they were talking about, but now I get it more. And they used to tell me more like about my dark side, my negative aspect of my negative personality qualities. Like I used to be somehow arrogant. I used to be somehow not very respectful to people. I used to think of myself as like very smart or something. Anyway, they used to tell me like, that's not good. We cannot make you psychic. We cannot bring you the spiritual wisdom if you don't change yourself, if you don't improve yourself. And I made a lot of improvements. It was hard, like the toughest part of becoming psychic was to improve myself, because I wasn't going to be giving a psychic gift if I don't become a better person in a way, uh, more compassionate, for example, that's important. Um, and I worked a lot on my communication skills because as an artist, I'm not a big speaker. I'm not big on talking so much. My God, I hate to talk, and I'm not good skilled in talking as an artist. But my whole work is to talk in foreign languages. Like, that's all right. Pushed the envelope. I learned. I learned. Like this is more than 20 years so far. I've been working hard on myself to become psychic and to be able to do a good job as a healer as well. Um, for so long, and I'm still learning to this day. Like to this day I'm still improving. I'm doing, like, by recording this video I am improving. I am pushing the envelope. I am able to become a little bit more of a skilled talker, for example. Okay, so how did I learn to become psychic? From many teachers, actually. I met many psychics, many healers, and many psychics. And basically, when you meet a healer, you basically meet a little bit of a psychic in there. And when you meet a psychic, you basically meet a little bit of a healer in there. Uh, so I learned first how to feel the energy. The first exercise was like if you do like this and you start moving your hand a little bit like this, and then you feel something is happening. Like if you do this quietly and very very like relaxingly, you would feel that as if some kind of a ray, energetic ray is coming off this hand and touching this hand. Okay, if you do it here, it might be even easier to feel. Okay, now this needs a lot of practice, but that was maybe the first thing I started practicing with. Now there is Reiki kind of. This is a Reiki kind of thing, and then later on, what, like I started reading tarot cards. Again, I talk badly about tarot card readers, but that was the very thing I started with. Like I know how to do that. Doesn't I wasn't psychic back then, but somehow I became psychic the more I was willing to learn everything that could propel me in this direction. So I learned like the pendulum dowsing, like this pendulum thing. I bought a lot of crystals and started feeling crystal energies. Okay, so I learned. I tried anything possible in my reach to available, accessible to me back then to learn. And New Zealand was a very good country for that. I learned something called theta healing as well. That was helpful as well. Like you close your eyes and you imagine yourself going up to the sky, to the creator seventh plane. It was a little bit similar to hypnosis. And then I learned hypnosis from a professional hypnotherapist. And then I went to Dolores Cannon. You know Dolores Cannon? She was visiting New Zealand at that time when I was in New Zealand. And I learned her hypnosis, type of hypnosis. She calls it. After that, it was past life regression. It used to be called past life regression. After that, they started calling it like quantum healing stuff. Anyway, interesting. What else did I learn? And I learned to heal myself, like healing my emotions through cathartic emotion release was also a big part of my learning process, my maturity process. Because if you've got lots of pent up emotions, you can't do psychic work. It would be very exhausting to you. Because when you are doing psychic works, it's all about feeling the energy. And you are when you are not clear in your being yourself, when you've got negativities inside you, like this energy would just impact on your negativity and start triggering more negativity in you. Anyway, part of becoming the journey of becoming psychic is a little bit of, at least a little bit. I did a lot of emotional release and emotional healing and soul purity. Okay. It took me a long time until I became like very healed in my soul, in my body, in my mind. I don't think negatively anymore. Like maybe I get a little bit irritated sometimes by people. It doesn't mean that I think negatively. Um, okay, cool. All right, now I think that was my story, and hopefully you can check out my website. I write a lot about my story in my blog, and I write predictions about the future. Okay, so my website is zonkatron.com. It can't be missed. Like whenever you say Zonkatron, you will find me. All right. Cool, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking this video. I appreciate it if you subscribe to my blog or website, zonkatron.com. And hopefully I'm gonna be on live stream regularly over the next few weeks, because these days I'm doing nothing other than sort of creating my personal brand, Zonkatron. And I don't like the name Zonkatron, but it's really something that I felt fell on me from the sky, because there is nothing other than me called Zonkatron so far. Good. See you soon, guys. Bye.